Oh, we're live a minute early. Put this down. All right, ladies and gents, welcome, welcome. And we are going to talk about something very interesting today because I've been speaking this week to some local farmers, some of my favorite people in the world, as well as truckers and a couple others. But you know what I like about farmers is that they just say it how it is. There's no politics, there's no left and right, there's no messing around. They just basically get up in the morning, ridiculous o'clock, go out, work hard for us, and produce food so that we can eat. It's the perfect sort of relationship, really, apart from when you get some of these big supermarkets involved and crippling the farmers, which is going on, and the government trying to cripple the farmers and everything else. But I'll tell you how this actually came about. Right, so I was in the supermarket on Monday and I bought myself, well, let me actually say first, I went to get some olive oil, always the good stuff here. You can hear this is I'm not going to turn it around. You know which bottle it is already if you buy olive oil. Not sponsored video in any way. And I looked at it and went, £16, 16 English pounds for a bottle of olive oil. Sorry. What? Can you, prices have just exploded. Can you just drop in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this after it's live? How much is olive oil for a litre or whatever where you are now? I'd really be interested to know because these prices have doubled. They have doubled. What's all this nonsense about 7 or 8% food inflation? I really don't know at all. So this stuff has doubled in price, and that's interesting. So we go to the shared screen a second here. Do you remember this video I did? Yeah, this was 2022. It's about 2.5 years ago now, and I warned about olive oil and how the price would go up, as well as flour and wheat-based products. Well, what a surprise. We're going to go through a few things here. I've got some articles. We're going to put this together a little bit. Just real quick, by the way, a lot of people have been emailing in. I don't know how this has happened in the last few days. A few people have had issues where they can't check out because it's basically the money psychology and stock market that ends in, hold on, we're ending it in 4 days time, okay? But then the new program, that's going to keep going. So let me just show you what you do. Go to the bottom of the page here, and if you've got any errors at the checkout, just here's the troubleshooting. And if you still can't get in, send an email just here, okay? So screenshot this or whatever you want to do, but send an email here and we'll get it sorted. Right, so here we go. UK self-sufficiency in fresh vegetables hits record lows. In fact, before we even get on that, let me tell you what the farmer said. He said, well, different farmers as well. This is what I like about farming. They do all different things, and they'll explain how it works with the co-ops, and one person grows this, one person grows that, and this is how they make sure they get good prices and how they try and combat the supermarkets and all this other stuff. Fascinating economics when you sort of break it all down. But they're saying that they're getting absolutely hammered by big supermarkets, big corporations who basically own everything now. Some of these big corporations own everything, all the food companies, and they are just holding the farmers to ransom, and they're making it so they can't make any money at all. They just can't make any money because they've got to double, triple, quadruple the supply and the output. And they said that some things they just can't do, like with milk and dairy cows, they're getting told you've got to double the output of these cows. And they're like, no, it's not healthy and stuff for the cows, what you want us to do. And some of the other things they're saying, no, it's just not good. And they're trying to say some of the cows that were outside, no, bring them inside, put them in pens. Same with some of the chickens. We'll talk about chickens. A farmer was supplying mass amounts of eggs, and they were told, no, we want these inside, and this is how we get around the free range thing. You just got to let them out for however many minutes a day, and then that's classed as free range. But no, keep them in these little tiny cages. It's like shocking, some of the stuff I was actually hearing. And they said also it's the government, not the war in Ukraine, but they're saying it's the UK government putting these sanctions on Russia, which, by the way, haven't worked. And we said they wouldn't work at the first place when we did all the analysis on it. Haven't worked. So they put all these sanctions on. So the farmers can't get the fertilizers at fair prices. The fertilizer prices are through the roof. It's insane. If you've watched Jeremy Clarkson's farm show, you'll know all about this anyway. You've seen how they've doubled and tripled in some of these prices. Now, the government's trying to kick the farmers out and not kick them out, but incentivize them to leave, do rewilding. They want to turn the farms back into countryside, or they want to turn them into houses, and then they're taking away subsidies from the farmers. And it just was like, I'm just listening going, oh my goodness, I did not know every last detail here. It's just like non-stop. They're under attack. A lot of them said they're going to quit in the next 2 or 3 years. And then this year, they've had flooding washed out all their crops. In fact, one guy I remember said to me, there's nothing in the ground, Neil. He wanted to do an interview. I said, it's too short notice to set it all up right now. But he's like, there's nothing in the ground. And what's in the ground has been soaked with the water, with all the rain. And then we've had like days of blistering heat. And then it's like, my goodness, everything that could go wrong has gone wrong at the minute. A couple of articles then. The UK self-sufficiency in fresh vegetables hits record lows. And we saw what happened with the shortages last year and this is another thing as well, another thing to bear in mind. If what we saw last year was anything to go by, what happened? Spain, Netherlands, a couple of these countries just said, we're not exporting our fruit and veg to the UK because we need it ourselves. And it didn't matter how much the UK supermarkets were willing to pay, they just wouldn't export it because they needed it for themselves. The UK is not food sufficient. I've talked about this over and over again for a long time. And actually it's today, this is why I'm doing a video today as well, marks the day when the UK, if they could only eat what they produce, this is the last day of food the UK would have. So that means the rest of the year, the UK would have no more food if they only went by what we produce. The rest is imported. Yes. And that includes exports as well. It's quite shocking, actually. The new government has been urged to help self-sufficiency so it doesn't drop any further. This is here it is. For some food are at the lowest since records began. The importance of increasing self-sufficiency levels has been highlighted today, the day which the national larder would run empty if the public only ate UK food from 1st of January. According to 2023 DEFRA figures, the UK is 62% self-sufficient in food. That's it. For example, and by the way, some of this, I'm going to see how they've calculated it, but when I saw it before, it was more like 40% because they exported a lot of food as well. But I need to see how they've calculated this. For example, the UK's self-sufficiency in fresh veg is at its lowest since records began in 1988 at only 53%. This year, farmers have experienced one of the wettest winters and springs on record, which has put pressure. It's also contributed to a collapse in farm business confidence, a massive decline in cereals, record-breaking global temperatures. Okay, I know we haven't seen this in certain regions within the UK region, but globally we've had some pretty crazy temperatures this year and flooding. But at the same time, where I am here, got to say we haven't seen these temperatures. And it was interesting. You know how I love to get into arguments, especially with government people. But I love going to these events and they talk about, oh, this is the hottest year on record. Sorry, have you been smoking something? Should you really be on that podium? How can you say that? This has been freezing and soaking wet all year on the island. How can it be the hottest year since records began? Show us the data, show us the statistics. And the answer, it's not always about statistics. It's about, okay, thank you, I've heard enough. I'm probably a nightmare whenever these meetings go on. Imports make up 84% of fresh tomatoes on sale in the UK. In the same time period, imports of lettuce fell by more than 36%. This is contributing to all the shortages, and it's only going to get worse. We've had temperatures affecting harvests across Europe, while many farms in the UK spent the first few months of the year underwater. And again, they're blaming this on the war, due to the war in Ukraine. No, it's not. It's nothing to do with the war in Ukraine. Goodness, people believe anything these days. And with nearly a fifth of UK households reporting experience of moderate or severe food insecurity. Food insecurity, remember, 20% of children now go to school hungry in the UK. And what's the government doing? They're not really doing anything about it. We also had this stat. The UK's self-sufficiency in veg is at its lowest. We just talked about this. The NFU said, this is the National Farmers Union, while the country is only 16% self-sufficient in fresh fruit. 16%, goodness. And 62% in potatoes. This is down from 74% just a couple of years ago. So it's dropping. And we've had the NFU issue warnings now. So this has been dropping since 1984, 40 years, 78, 74, 67, 62. It's now at 62%. So it's kind of held steady in the last decade, but it isn't moving upwards as it needs to be. And then we've had this article, which is an interesting one. So this farmer swapped out chickens for storage containers. He said that supermarkets squeezed him on prices and he can't. But this is what doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, the business model makes, come on, scroll down, makes no sense. He had 60,000 chickens, 60,000 chickens, 80,000 eggs a day. And he said that he couldn't make any money. How on earth can you not make any money with 80,000 eggs a day? He had an 800, I wonder if this article is true. Look how the numbers all line up. 800 acres, 80,000 a day. He said egg production is not profitable. How? Have you seen the price of eggs? Egg prices are crazy. That's why I have all of my own chickens. I think you've seen some of my chickens before on the videos. I mean, do you know during World War II, actually, there was a thing the government actually put out saying 1 chicken per person per household. And they'd say, give you scraps and stuff, feed your chickens, you let no food go to waste, which was really good. So everything's recycled. So any food scraps, right, goes to the chickens. Chickens produce eggs. You know, they free range, they eat a bit of grass, they eat the bugs and insects and whatever. Why can't we go back to those days? Oh, because you need a license now. Remember the video I made? You can find it on the channel. Otherwise, just use the search bar. You need a license to own chickens in the UK. Oh, gosh, a chicken. You need a license. Excuse me, sir. You're under arrest. What for? You've got no chicken license for this chicken. It's insanity. It really is. But we have chickens. We get beautiful eggs every single day. Most of it is, everything we've got is mostly self-sufficient. This is what we need to go back to. We really do. These eggs are not cheap when you buy them in the supermarkets. But anyway, he got rid of this. He was advised, and the government was, and everything else, get rid of your chickens and do self-storage instead. Oh yeah, he said we didn't have a competitive advantage in food production. We weren't big enough. If 80,000 eggs a day is not big enough, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. He said the self-storage containers are the best financial model. It's steady at the moment and we've got growing business. He said the supermarkets are squeezing prices. Caged egged units are now on farms with up to 1 million birds, maybe 2 people looking after them, all in cages. Gosh, that's pretty shocking. Pretty automated, feeding, climate, ventilation. I'm concerned we could easily have a situation where there isn't enough domestic production. Well, we saw that in the US as well last year when we did the video on that. And if you remember that video as well, I talked about why the chickens stopped laying eggs. It's funny how sometimes a video will go viral that you throw together in 20 minutes. Right, let me do a quick investigation here. Oh, I've got it. This is obvious why. All these people trying to figure out why all the chickens had stopped laying eggs. I just researched and found out the company, all the chicken feed had been bought by one massive conglomerate, and they removed a lot of the protein to save money and cut costs. The chickens stopped laying eggs. It's pretty common sense. That was a semi-viral video as well. It's just bizarre, some of the videos that do well. What else have we got? He's talking about food shortages he thinks are going to come along. He had cows as well before. It's all being rewilded. This is what worries me. It really does. Another thing, the New Deal. We heard about this before, the farming New Deal. This is old plan coming back in again. 14% of farmers are considering leaving in the next 3 to 5 years. Again, this is what I've heard. Government wants to build houses all over the countrysides and all over farms. We've got rural crime, and police aren't doing anything about this rural crime. It's organized crime gangs. Everyone's got electric gates and lock themselves in at night. This must be sad. I can see why so many people want to leave. This farmer was forced to sell his dairy herd after Muller, the company, he said wanted him to double. Here it is. He wants them to double how much milk the cows produce, and he says he's not doing it. So he had to get rid of his dairy herd. 40 years of doing this. So he said these cows are, their grandmothers, great-grandmothers. 40 years he's been breeding these cows, and he had to get rid of them all. It is just so sad what is going on with farming. It really is. I just feel bad for the farmers. I think we need to give them as much support as we possibly can. Buy local wherever you can. Buy from farmers direct if you can. I think we're going to probably start to see a new movement in the near future. In fact, there's a business idea as well. Something to do with farm. I think there's a term now, farm to table or farm to fork, something like that. I think we're going to see a lot more of that. Maybe someone can do a brokerage website or something like that to connect people that want to support farmers without them getting destroyed by the supermarkets and all this other regulation. I'm sure there'll be solutions in the future. It'll get figured out. But at the minute, it's not looking good, especially all the rewilding they want to do, government paying farmers to leave farming, and then rewilding the land. I mean, we're going to have food issues the way it's going. There's no one joining because the farms are so expensive. You're talking millions. And if you're going to put that sort of money in, well, you've seen what the returns, they're tiny on farming in some regards. You've got to have these massive, massive farms in order to make a good return because it's been so commercialized. And I think this is some of the issues that we've got to deal with at the moment. So definitely support your local farmers, help them however you can, and just give them support as well. All right, thanks for being online. Take care, God bless, and I will see you tomorrow.